Good morning, Jess. Hello. What's up, Joe? How you guys doing? First one's in. Is that Smitty Werberman Jensen, the number one? What's good, bro? Lego, Alex, Cat, Topaz. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. I'm gonna let the live run for like 5, 10 minutes just to make sure we get everyone in here. And if you're wondering why the screen is dark, I'm not doing a face reveal just yet, so I'm holding off on that for a little bit. Hi. What's up, Svik? Yes, very, very dark and very spoopy, of course. It is October, so you know how we gotta do it. Also, sorry if my voice sounds kind of, you know, awful. Hi, Mr. Man. What? Bye. Where are you going? Hello, Nazaxel Ripper. Yeah. Anyways, my voice is like kind of gone. Had a I was watching baseball last night and the game was just it was awful. Hey Ultrix, what's up? Yeah, so I was doing a lot of yelling. Uh, but anyways, welcome in guys. Welcome to the Q&A session. Um so like I said, the way I'm going to run through this, I'm going to look through all the questions you guys put on that post, answer them as best as I can. I might not get to all of your questions if you asked multiple questions. I don't want to take up all the time, answering one person's stuff. So I'm going to try and limit the amount of questions I answer per person. But hey, Lumberjack, what's up? And you guys can also ask questions during the live. So, and it doesn't all have to be about integration, like, but I want to keep it mostly centered on that. And so, I haven't looked at any of the questions yet, so I'm going into this totally blind. Hey, Serb, what's up, dude? So I'm just going to be like opening it up and answering. I'm going to go from like oldest to newest and answer from the bottom up. And you guys can like ask whatever you want about like story inspiration, character inspiration, uh, some personal stuff I'll answer, but not a lot. You know, don't want to dox myself. But okay, I think we've got a good number of people in here. We've got 19. So, no, I'm not going to do that, Svik. I know you guys all want to come invade my house and force me to make you merch and stuff like that, but can't do that. Yeah. My social security number, yeah, that's 104. All right, get this down. 76. All right, and then shut up. So my house is not boring. No, it's actually very very cool. It's huge. All right. Yeah, we've got 20 people in here, and it's been about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna get started. All right. So welcome again, everyone, to the Murder Drones integration question and answer session. We're gonna start with a question from someone whose name is in Russian, so I cannot read it. I wanna actually say the names of everyone who answered these questions. So I'm gonna actually. Whoa. All right. I don't know how to pronounce that, so never mind. All right. First question we've got is it still possible to bring Terran back? Okay. Yeah. I knew that was gonna be in here somewhere. So the answer is no. Terran is Terran is gone, unfortunately. Sadly. Boohoo. So Terran, he was a fun character to write with. I didn't really get to do much with him because he was a side character, kind of in the background. Um, I know a lot of people wanted him to come back, but yeah, he was. I did want to have him to have like a cool ending, so he gets to save Cersei. Um, Cersei's survival is actually important to what happens after, and I believe she gives some elite call outs from beyond the null set because of the fact that she survived. So, and I also wanted to have some consequences for the sending everyone in to go fight null. You can't have everybody survive. Didn't want to do that, and that's part of the reason why I didn't want to use the cloning thing wouldn't really make sense if you're technically in a zone where you no longer exist. So there's really no data for the cloning technology to pull from, even quantum wise. So it's like you're trying to essentially duplicate a still existing organic material. That's basically what the technology is for. And since Terran, in the moment that he quote unquote died, no longer existed by technical terms, he's yeah, cloning is impossible for anyone who died in the null set. Oh yeah, I tried to go to Google Translate for that name. It was it was rough. Um, if you want me to try pronouncing it, just to shout out the person. I mean, uh, Shmil Zhuzhashki. Yeah, yeah, Shmil. Let's go with that. Thank you, Shmil, for that question. Oh, there you are. You're in the chat. Uh, yeah. Hey, what's up, dude? All right. Um, oh, you got a question in the chat. Will integration be continued? In the mainstream sense, no, it won't. But I do have some side stories in the work. Like I've partially finished one about Svik. No, Svik. Sorry, I just saw your name there. Not about you, Svik. You're not in the story. I finished one about Stone and Doll. Um, it's gonna be like multi-part things. So I did write I am in the process of writing a short story about them. Um, and I mean, and one is involved in that one too, but he won't go away. He just, you know. And yes, the drone rights thing is going to be um, interwoven throughout pretty much all of the short stories. So then we've got no Zvik, you are not canon. Zvik is not canon. I misspoke. That was a vocal typo. You guys can throw that into the bin. Oh well, yeah, that's a good point, Joe. Like technically, technically, a lot of you guys are already canon, so I guess. Um, then I also have another short story in the works about. Um, we've got male J, um, J Canon J from the original Murder Drone story, and two. We're gonna be following them, what they're doing afterwards. So they've all been like conscripted into first responder corporations. So like male J is going to be in a firefighting capacity. Um, Canon J and 2 are going to be in drone police divisions, and they're going to be working to investigate some anti-drone crimes. Yeah, we've got like a. I'm trying to go with like a buddy cop kind of thing there, but it's not gonna be like super lighthearted or super funny. It's but it will be it's gonna be interesting trying to go that route. I've never done a story like that before, and I wanted to try it out. So yes, it is Paw Patrol drones. They are going to be doing Paw Patrol things. I've never seen Paw Patrol, so I have no idea what that means. But sure, yeah. Okay, I gotta move on to Crouton's question. I think that's how that's pronounced. Crouton. Um, no, his arch enemy is not an arsonist, but there are arsonists in the story. So we've got anti-drone. The ADC, Anti-Drone Coalition, is what we're going to be throwing in there. Okay, next question. Crouton 9603, a familiar face on the Discord. What is your favorite color? Black, red, and white. I do not have a single favorite color. They are tied for me. So black, red, and white are my favorite colors. And then the second question Crouton had was Crouton, sorry, had is what character did I enjoy writing the most? Josephine. It's Josephine, no question. I loved putting her character together, um, keeping her secrets, keeping her Mari identity on the DL. You know, that was just crafting that and her personality. That was just one of my favorite parts of the story because a little backstory for Josephine's character development here. Um, Originally, she was going to be a descendant of J.C. Jensen, but her character was a merge of like Naja and Josephine. So she was going to be like a scientist, not the director. She was just going to be like a scientist, nerdy type. But then, and I think Jess will remember that because I commented that on one of her shorts while the story was still in development, while I was still making up the whole storyline behind it. But yeah, eventually her character really changed into being the director and more of a secretive, you know, secretly being God type of character as I wrote the very first post for the story. So as I was writing that very first part, and I was writing her in, like asking Teddy if he's still afraid of lightning and all that. Suddenly, like I had like this epiphany moment, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! I can do something different with her character, with making her Teddy's boss and previous love interest." So that whole thing actually spawned like while I was writing that first part, like in a moment right there. So, uh, Ultrix, you said, when's a good time to ask questions here? Well, I just finished answering a question, so you can go ahead and ask a question right now if you want. Um, I'll hold off on answering. Um, well, actually, the next question is kind of short. When is the Ponder remix coming out? That will be coming out as soon as I'm done proofreading integration, and that might be like a few weeks from now. I'll try to finish up the music. Honestly, I might not release it till next year because I'm done with the first verse and the chorus. I haven't done any of the vocals yet. I do want to make a music video for it, even though there's not much to pull from. If anyone wants to animate for it, that'd be fine. Okay, let's see. We've got questions in the chat now. Question: What happened to the TADC computer? I know it was an Easter egg, but do I have an answer? No, I do not yet because Amazing Digital Circus is not complete. When it ends next year, I will tie up those loose ends because we'll have all the canonical answers to the unanswered questions in Amazing Digital Circus, and I will start on the short story for that. And yes, I do intend to be still writing integration spin offs by next year, so we're not out of content for that just yet. Ultrix asks, what inspired me to make the story play by poll? So the inspiration for that is choose your own adventure stories. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of those, but those were very popular when I was younger, growing up. These books were it was like you are the main character. You had to read through a chapter, and then it give you two options at the bottom. You go to one page for one option, and you go further to another page for that option. Um, Animorphs, if anyone's heard of that, I gave that a shout out in my that little post, the special thanks post. So Animorphs had some choose your own adventure stories, and I loved those. Animorphs was also a huge inspiration for the gritty, widespread war against this overarching alien enemy theme for integration. So Animorphs is my favorite book series of all time. I'll just put that out there right now. So just so y'all know. But let's see, did I miss? How long does it seem for the Ponder song, Lego? Is that what you're asking? And yes, Alex, I will. If you do want to do an animation for the Ponder song, I'll get in touch with you. You can email me about it. My email's in my bio. So, when can you expect the remix? I want to say before spring next year. At least before spring next year. All right. Was I inspired by Venom? Um, I no, not really. I didn't see it. I didn't get any inspiration from Venom. Sin just anamorphed into Tessa. I mean, not really. Kind of. Uh, can we see the ending we would have got if we just sent John and said everyone? Yes, you will be seeing that ending. Once I'm done like I said, once I'm done proofreading, I'm gonna go hard into like all the spin-off stuff. I am going to write the John versus Null ending. Um, that one is gonna be interesting to read. I have a fun idea for that. So you will be seeing that once Arc 2 and Arc 3, all the interviews and everything is up on AO3. And you'll have full access to that. Oh, excuse me. Yes, Kat, please get your microphone. I really want to do the vocals full callback thing so I can release the full version. Even though integration's over, I've still got a whole lot of stuff on my plate that I'm working on. The spin-off stuff, the music, because I do want to remake all of the AI songs using actual human stuff. So I've got the songs. I've got my own original music that I want to remake in Cubase and release because I don't want to just be shoved into the Murder Drones corner or the SSTWL corner with the Ponder remix. Even though I do want to do a remix of Mari's theme, Hail to Your God. That's one of my favorite songs from SSTWL. Oh, yeah, Lumberjack. You have mentioned that before, Knights of Guinevere fitting into the timeline. So, yes, Knights of Guinevere is would fit perfectly into the integration timeline. It'd be in the space between the 2000s and 3000s as humanity is advancing. So that would be a nice little spot to fit that into. Um, Let me move on to the next question. We've got Joe's questions up next. Oh, he's got a lot. Let me. Yes, I did answer that, Crouton. I said it was black, red, and white. Those are my favorite colors. They're all tied for first place. Blue, silver, and gold are next for me. All right, long questions. Let me see which ones I want to answer. Let me scan through these. Why can't we clone Kali back now? Kali, spoiler alert, Kali will be cloned. I'm just going to put that out here. Let me throw this thing back over here. Kali is going to be cloned. She will be brought back because Mari is no longer in charge, and Tessa said, screw your non left hand cloning policies. We are throwing her back into the mix. So they've got Kali's parasite, they've got that DNA. They're going to, because they can't really clone her dead organic cells, because if they cloned that, she would be cloned back to the point where mentally she was when she died, technically when the parasite killed her. So she would be like mentally 12 or 13 years old. We're not doing that. They're going to clone her parasite, insert that parasite into another synthetic body created using this Atom project, and ta-da, Kali is back. They will handle that. Um, and she will be back with the solver because of how quantum cloning works. So she will have matter distortions and the solver just like Teddy. And she'll have to learn to adapt to those abilities, which won't be too difficult because it is now the perfect solver. So it's completely perfected, no real hitches in it. And she'll be trained by, the Solver Squadron Corps to know how to use it. It's not like she hasn't studied it already when she was working with them. She's very thorough. All right. Next question from Joe that I want to answer. If Ada hadn't died, would Kiss Kill have still been manufactured? No, Kiss would not have existed as a character. Ada would have essentially been the Kiss of the team if she had made it to join them. Um, so yeah, that would have been different. And let me see what question I want to answer next. And let me go back, double back to that question. Part of me is kind of glad that Ada died so that Kiss could actually become a character because I had been preparing for her to appear. Um, I'm kind of glad that I got to actually make Kiss into a character, flesh her out. Next question I want to answer. How much of a help was the console throughout the story? You guys have no idea how much you guys helped build this story up. Like honestly, all some of the ideas that you guys threw out in the chat, um, the directions you helped to take the voters in, like it was so fun seeing you guys debate different paths, different choices in the Discord. That was one of my favorite parts of the story, honestly. Um, oh, let me see. If would she still have been made if they'd gotten their hands on if they'd gotten their hands on a different cabin fever test subject? Yes, Kiss could have technically still been made because she is the only one made from a Solver drone's shell. So if they'd gotten another Solver drone shell, they would have just made her essentially. But none of the other cabin fever drones escaped, so that's really a moot point. Let me see. Another question in the chat. Lumberjack asked, "Is Null a unique non-entity, or are there multiple?" So Null is a singular Nexus being in that it only, it's only around in this universe, in the integration universe. So in all those timelines throughout SSTWL and murder drones, that's the only place that it non-exists in. I guess you could say that it conceptually um, resides in. So it's not like Cthulhu or other Lovecraftian entities that are existent throughout every single multiverse in existence. It's not like that. Um, Green Man. Why would Uzi not just do her own thing apart from JCJ? If she wanted, she could block everyone from the solver. That's interesting that you should bring that up, but I'm not gonna say anything about that yet. So sorry, I'm not gonna spoil on that one. All right. Were there any characters I wanted killed off, but it never happened from Loyal to Her Core that I wanted killed off? Um, anyone that I wanted to kill off, but never got to. Not really. Everyone who died was honestly. It wasn't like the people that died I wanted to kill them off. I just like I wanted to add what I wanted was to add consequences for certain pathways. So and I didn't have any characters that I really wanted to kill off, and it never happened. Char- there was one character I wanted to kill off, and that's Eve. I wanted him to die, so he died. But so that happened. But okay, let me keep going. Um, one more question from Joe that I will answer. Is there? Oh well, let me. That's probably gonna pop up later. Um, okay, let's go with would investigating the question marks options prior to the core collapse have saved original V? Yes. I think I've answered that one before, so maybe I should have chosen a different question to answer. Hmm. Yeah, original V would have survived if they'd investigated one's presence, because he would not have been around to follow them off the planet. He would have retreated if they had investigated him. He would have retreated. He would have not have been around to sabotage their vehicle and make them crash onto Copper Eight's moon. Um, Let me see. What other stories influenced integration besides SSTWL? All right, so that's a fun one to answer. Inspirations for integration, we had Animorphs, as I mentioned before. Um, there were some old stories of my own that I had been writing since way back in the day that also inspired it. I drew a lot of inspirations from my old stories, actually. Josephine, for one, is partially based on the character named Renee Dershowitz from my old stories, my Safe Haven saga. Um, Theodore, the inspiration for his personality. I know I have a character who's similar to him in my old stories. I did draw a lot from John Matthews, of course, for Theodore's personality overall, for his protective, heroic style of character. Who else did I get inspiration from? From for Dahmer, Cleo Dahmer. So she had a well-established character in SSTWL already, but I did also um, take a little bit of inspiration from some of my other characters in my stories for her mad scientist type trope, and I did that for the scientist, Sin's secondary core host. She was also partially inspired by one of my mad scientist characters, but I did get a lot of inspiration also from the Avengers movies for those big fight scenes. I really learned how to write fight scenes by kind of visualizing Avengers fight scenes in my head and writing out what they're doing, how they're doing it, how the enemy's attacking, and especially for like the big disassembly drone swarm attack fight scenes, because we have the Chitari and we have the Thanos's whatever those, or are those like called hellhounds or something? I don't remember what his things are called. The multi-armed creatures, but yeah, exactly, Ultrix. That's how I did it. Reavers. Thank you, Svik. So yeah, that's how I approached that story. Those were some of the inspirations behind it. I know there are more, but I can't really recall some at the moment. There were certain plot lines that Stone. Stone is definitely inspired by some previous characters of mine. So I had a future Gravity Falls fan fiction that I never got around to writing, where Dipper was going to be like an investigative guy who goes around looking for other cryptids and stuff. So that's part of the inspiration. Then I had a character in my Safe Haven saga named Delvis Billard, who was a detective type. Well, he was originally like a monitor, so he would keep tabs on, fantastical beasts and stuff. And he eventually became a detective character. So he was a huge inspiration for Stone as a character. No, Lego, you are not getting a Ponder plush unless I get all the rights to Ponder from Liam, which is never going to happen. Um, Thank you, Crouton, for that donation. Which character did I enjoy writing the most? Oh, I answered that. It was Josephine. I don't know if you were here for that, but yes, Josephine was my favorite character to um, to write. Just crafting her whole backstory, her true identity, putting that in there. Did I? Am I missing some answer that I was gonna give? Oh, I was talking about Stone's inspiration. Yeah. So I also had an Infinity Train book two continuation where I had the a character who was like Agent Mace's son, who was also a detective type. So I had a lot of detective types, and they all served as inspiration for Stone. Um, what's this about a drone rebellion? Lumberjack? Yes, there was a previous drone rebellion. The something massacre I called it happened because of that. Oh, it was in Kali's interview. Callie, Callie. Sorry, I don't know why I said Kali. Callie. She said so. There was a previous drone rebellion. Um, the Saravian slaughter on Copper 9 in the city of Saravia. That was where the drone rebellion was quashed. So Callie says she was on the ground to help quell the drone rebellion, so she was involved in actually putting down the drones who stood up against their oppression. She has PTSD from that. Okay, let's see. Everyone telling me to ask Liam for. Yeah, I'm gonna send the email as a joke if I can get his email information, but he's not gonna answer. I'll just let you guys know that straight up. Um, yeah, sorry, Alex. I know. Yeah, she was down there. She was on the ground. She was boots on the ground, slaughtering uh, divergent strains of drones. Is it was for the greater good because in this canon timeline, the drones were basically think of the Nat Turner rebellion. They were killing their owners and slaughtering humans. So J.C. Jensen dispatched her among their soldiers to go take them out. Okay, Jess, bye. If you have a question, let me actually try to get to it. I don't know if you put one down. I don't think you did. But thank you for showing up, Jess. Appreciate you. Fun story. I actually pitched the whole choose your own adventure on YouTube polls thing to Jess first and foremost. She was the first person I ever talked to about that while we were doing the Citizen Murdered, putting that together, or we were doing the vocals for that. So Jess was the first one to ever know about integration being a choose your own adventure style story. And I appreciate her feedback on that. Hello, number one frilled jellyfish lover. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the Q&A. A fly just landed on my glasses. Disgusting. Anyways, let's see. Next question. Green Man 1517. I know you're in the chat, so you asked, what can we expect to see next from this universe? As I mentioned before, you will be seeing first and foremost the proofread arcs. I have been posting proofread chapters over the last 3 days, so I don't know if you guys are keeping track of that, but yeah, I've been posting that. Then you'll see the spin-off stories covering other characters. I do want to. I'm doing them on Stone, Doll, J, Male, Canon J, Serial Designation 2, Serial Designation 1. I want to get to doing a side story on Lizzie. We're going to follow Callie once she's cloned and getting accustomed to the solver and reintegrating into society because she is going to retire from serving as a security officer and soldier for JC Jensen. So, um, let me see. What's this? What would have happened if Theodore hadn't warned Josephine of the plan Dirge made to kill her really early on? That is an intriguing question. So, if Theodore hadn't warned Josephine of Dirge's plan, ooh, that would have thrown some things kind of crazy, honestly. Because remember, I was writing this all based on solely what you guys chose, so I didn't have a pre-planned ending for everything. So I honestly have no idea. It's just like as I'm proofreading, I'm seeing some of the options that you guys could have chosen from. I did not have anything planned for a lot of these. I wrote these. I was pantsing. I was writing these by the seat of my pants, just literally based off of what you guys say. What is my When is my next Murder Drone song? My next Murder Drone song will be Callback Ping with vocals as soon as Jess and Kat get me their vocal parts. Um, so that'll be released whenever I can put that all together. Once I have the vocals, it should only be like 2 weeks before the song's actually released. Um, yes, the anger route would have absolutely dismantled the entire story from what it is now. It would have been something entirely different. Because Theodore would have been what his character was originally conceptualized as. Theodore was going to be a robot hating, very stern, very harsh army veteran in the original draft of Integration. He was going to be like a jerk character. He was going to be think Rourke from Atlantis, The Lost Empire. He would have been him, but angry all the time and very self-servient until I decided to make him John Matthews. So, and then if you had chosen that anger route, he would have definitely devolved into that character. And it would have definitely changed things a lot. He would not have gotten along with the drones, with NJ and V. He would have hated Stone with a passion because Stone's his son, and Stone is essentially an organic being in a drone body. That would have been that would have been crazy. Um, yes, a lot could have happened from that. Who will my next Murder Drone story be about? The first one I'm intending to drop is Stone and Dolls. It's going to have some elements of the drone versus anti-drone thing in it, so that's going to kind of kick off that background storyline. Yeah, Teddy would have been like, "Oh, those stupid clankers always getting in my way, mate. Oh, those tin skins." But yeah, he would have been he would have been crazy. Why did Stone turn out to be an eye blob at birth? Because Mari did not um, she did not think about what her progeny would actually be like. Since, her human form is not really her true form. Her true form is described in the god they abandoned. She's like this giant mass of flesh and ore. So she's her child ended up being Stone does have ore elements inside him because in the telling of how he was born, Josephine gets metal stuck in her hand when she's trying to crush him. So he's also a giant blob, an eldritch demigod of flesh and ore. Subject zero is anyway. So both Stone and One, they're the same. They're the same being. Honestly, just split into two. And oh, fun fact! I got that idea from Animorphs, the story where Rachel gets she morphs into a starfish and gets chopped in half, and then you get mean Rachel and nice Rachel. So that was Stone was also inspired by Rachel from Animorphs. Skill issue on Mari's part, truly, yes. If she was just human and she had Theodore's kid, he would have been just a normal human kid, like we see in that scrapped sequence that I posted up there, where she actually had twins, Carter and Captain. So Captain is stone because Pakul is the word for stone in Muruwari, and I just flipped PAK to KAP. So and Carter is one for the KAR in his name comes from Kamankara, which means shadow in Muruwari. So Animorphs is not a show. That show is stupid and it stinks. Ultrix, okay? The book series, the 54 plus multiple Megamorph and choose your own adventure stories, that is the real Animorphs and it is goaded. All right. So she did not think ahead enough to realize there was a non-zero chance she birthed something straight out of Bloodborne. No, she was not thinking about that when she was banging Teddy in the bedroom. I'm sorry, she was not considering that. Um, it didn't cross her mind. Yes, Lumberjack, the dark book series about war, about child soldiers who get repeatedly rent in asunder. My phrasing was precisely what I intended for it to be when I was describing that. So yeah. Anyways, moving on to Topaz's question. Oh, ooh, that's a lot of questions. Let me find. Sorry, I know I caught you guys off guard with that. I'm being funny. I'm being dumb. Um, Let me look through. How is Duffy doing? Is she still in the key bug? If I recall correctly, she is still inside of Cersei's flesh catch made body. So currently, Duffy is in Cersei's head, which Cersei honestly does not mind because she's very helpful, very analytical. Um, they're sharing a brain. Um, Green Man's heading out. Bye, Green Man. You're welcome for answering those questions. Next question from Topaz. Did Malaya finally get to eat cookies? Yes. She now has flesh body. She is retiring from her cyber soul career. She put up crazy numbers. She's going to the Hall of Fame. She's got a nice pension. She is eating cookies. She is all right. Yeah, well, not all right. She's still recovering from Terran's death. That's a tragic story, isn't it? Terran did not get to tell her the truth, and she does not remember what she learned from Stone in the interviews. So that's a loose end that will never be tied up. And you know what? That's okay. Some stories need plot lines like that. Not everything needs to be resolved. Not every character gets the last words or stuff like that. Um, Let me see. Last question that I'm going to answer from Topaz. How are Teddy and Mari? Are they getting back together? I'm actually still mulling that over. Because Mari, honestly, her thoughts on the issues is she is now completely separated from the Solver Squadron core, from humanity. Honestly, she wants to basically live alone in solitude somewhere, um, or in exile. Technically, she doesn't want to interact with people that much. Even though Tessa's having her serving as an advisor right now. Once Tessa's 12 to 18 month period as director is over, she intends to just step away and disappear. Um, and I have considered having her back Callie stepping into Teddy's life instead of in her place, because she honestly should not have been in Teddy's life in the first place. Mari, that is. She kind of inserted herself there. Mari, her thoughts on the matter is she wants to exile herself, let everyone else live their happy lives without her. She doesn't want to be she doesn't want to be there because she feels that she has done too much damage to live that ending. And of course, Teddy and Tessa have been trying to pull her back into their little circle. Um, Crouton, why didn't the idea work in the past? Well, it was not strong enough. I believe that was stated in the story. It had not spread far enough. In the original SSTWL, it is stated, the idea hasn't worked prior, and Mari needs to get it to spread, or at least grow in strength. So she wanted to make Subject 52, Alex, a carrier. She wanted to make O2 a carrier, Lauren, but she died to Isa in a really anime style fight scene. So, you know, she wanted to make the the idea spread. Um, did Teddy need Mari as the anchor to be strong enough to beat Null? That's what Mari thought, and technically it did kind of work, although his pragma synchrony with Tessa also added to the mix, and he actually also developed pragma synchrony with the entire Solver Squadron core on a small scale, not really, but it was enough to boost the idea to where it needed to be. But his main anchors were Josephine and Tessa, and those were really the main keys to um, helping the idea actually develop and get cultivated enough to be strong enough to defeat Null. Um, Josie should have just bet on Uzi. Um, she was never gonna do that. That was never gonna happen. Josephine did not like Uzi from the get go because of what she was. She didn't believe she was supposed to even be a pragmatic anchor because of the interference it could cause, and the interference that it did cause. Um, and you have to understand, Mari is very, very practical. She doesn't want a loose cannon like Uzi carrying the idea and serving as the anchor going into fight. No, and the idea scales. It does not scale to how many friends Teddy has. It does not scale to that. It scales to the time of how long the idea has been cultivated within that pragma synchronous bond, and the depth of the bonds themselves. So that's the scaling. What would have happened if Mari had become the God Key? Mari would have had a 25% chance to beat Null, and the way she would have done it is she would have begun to attempt to assimilate Null within the Null set and essentially begin like inserting herself into Null and absorbing Null into herself simultaneously because they would be trying to assimilate each other. And she would have had a quarter of a chance to actually take over Null entirely. Uzi was never relatable unless you're. Uzi is like an over the top stereotype of that edgy kid who loves darkness and anime. And that's not a you know dig at people who like anime. I like anime, so but yeah, she's just an exaggeration of those characters. So she's not really relatable in that sense. There are people who make their personalities exaggerated in that style. I think primarily to get attention or to be quote unquote different. So maybe they can relate to her, but you know, I don't know if there's anyone who authentically can relate to Uzi because she's kind of yeah, Black Parade on loop listener. Yeah, yeah, essentially. And yes, Mari becoming the God Key would have been her returning to her full God of flesh and ore form. All right, moving on to the next questions in the actual Q&A post. How long did it take to go through all of Liam's stories? About 3 weeks, Blue Hat Plumber. Took about 3 weeks to read through Black Dog's design puppet game. So, and then I rewatched Murder Drones, of course, multiple times. So it took a minute. Yes, it was long. I was listening to them at work, so I couldn't listen to them constantly. Because my bosses would be like, "All right, pay attention, get off your phone," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, yeah." So let me see if I didn't miss anything. What was your thought process and outline when it came to stringing all of the aforementioned stories together in integration? So basically, I just wrote up a Word document of how I wanted each thing to tie in, where I wanted characters to be placed throughout the story, how I wanted the continuity to merge together, to mesh together. I did write it all out and outline it, so it wasn't like I was just throwing them in there all willy nilly. Some elements I did, but overall, I actually wrote it all out, so I had it there. After integration and all its side stories are finished, what are my plans for the future? Music. Music is my plans for the future. I'm gonna go dive headfirst into remaking all of my um, old music on Note Flight. Bye, Svicton. Bye, Svic. Total Doll Victory. Yes, as always. Have a good day, man. And yeah, so after I'm done with all the integration related stuff, I'm going right into music. I want to start putting out some of my original songs, not just Murder Drone stuff. Would you want another season or two of Murder Drones? Bro, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, well, yeah, there are people who don't, but I would love to see that. If they were committed to fleshing out some of the unanswered questions, especially the unanswered question that integration itself sprang from, which was episode 6, Dead End, Sins showing N the computer and the spread of the solver. And there are two systems, which I designated as SETI and Sirius, that are unaffected by the solver. Where are the human? What happened to the humans on those planets? How are they combating this spread? Those are the questions that actually led to integration even existing. So Yeah, if they made a season two and they answered those questions, I'm all for it. If they're just making a season two, um, just making it gratuitous, no, I'll pass on that. Did I like the new song by Living Tombstone? It was okay. The animation was way better. The actual, basically short film that accompanied it, I liked that. So yeah, the song itself, it wasn't like it was good. It was okay, but I did love I liked the little short. All right, loyal to her core. Questions on the Q&A beyond what you've already asked. We've got what will become of Serial Destination 1. I have plans for him. I can't spoil those just yet. Are there any remnants of sin left? I can't answer that either, sorry. I mean, I guess that's an answer in and of itself, but would cloning Terran have worked? Already answered that. Would Uzi have been able to beat Null in a 1v1 like John would have been able to? All right, so Null would have had a. I don't want to answer that yet because I do want to put out the John path first. So man, I can't answer any of those questions honestly. Besides the cloning Terran one, which I already answered. Um, let's move on to JTTG's questions. Oh, let me see this in the chat first. If you could voice act any character in Murder Drones, who would I voice? You mean like Murder Drones canon or integration? Like if I could voice a canon character from Murder Drones? Is that what you mean? If you're asking if I could voice a canon character, I would have just voiced Thad. He's just a chill guy who likes sports. He just like me for real, for real. If I could voice someone from integration now, um, who I would voice maybe my voice doesn't really hold up for Theodore. He's more of like a less gruff Jason Statham type voice in my head. Um, yeah, maybe I could do a Benny. I could do Eve, honestly. I could do his kind of sleazeball type voice. Um, I could do Eve. I wouldn't want to, but I could. Um, but let me move on to JTTG's questions real quick. Um, is Ponder permanently under Uzi's control? Yes. He is on that leash. He cannot go beyond what she allows him to go beyond. And honestly, the universe is the better for it because if she took those limiters off, he's going to go right back to doing puppet game and blowing up entire worlds. He does not care. He's not a morally gray character. He's not a good guy per se. He would just go back to doing what he loves. Death and destruction, fun, torture. That's Ponder. Let's see another question I want to answer. If Ponder and Manor Sin were to fight, who'd win? Ponder would win. So unless Ponder just unless he was goofing around. Both of them have tendencies to goof around, honestly. But Ponder has contingencies in place for that. Sin is like overconfident, goofy. Um, I think Ponder would take that because see, Ponder can splice. He could blow her up with a clap of his stubs. Sin can edit. She could, you know, she could disassemble him with a snap of her fingers. Why is my phone doing that? So she could disassemble him with a snap of her fingers. Ponder could just. It's honestly who's going to be more serious with the fight. Bye Lego. Bye. And true, yes, Ponder has fourth wall reading abilities. So he's he could just see what Sin's going to do next in the script, technically, if he wanted to. So it's not really a fair fight, honestly. And Alex, good point. I did consider having Ponder have a crush on Sin once he saw her and what she was doing, but I went with the more he's insulted because he feels like she's a copycat. I went with that route. But I did consider having him have like a infatuation with her, but I ended up going a different direction. Last question from JTG that I will answer. Um, would Tessa be able to parent while balancing the load of JC Jensen? Maybe one kid, maybe one, but that's as we all know, she wants just a few more than one. So the answer to that, if she got her maximum, no, she would not be parenting while handling JC Jensen. She wants to she would want to devote most of her time to her 17 children, of course. She doesn't want to neglect them. Um Ponder simping would have been hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ponder simps over GLaDOS, but we didn't get to actually see that. So, all right, we're losing viewers, so I'm gonna try and speed this up so everyone can hear the rest of the Q&A. What is my favorite color of the alphabet? Yes or 15? I believe Svik has asked this before. I don't remember what I answered last time, but my answer today is Epiphany. All right, there's my answer for you. I hope he rewatches the live and sees that. Azam, who is not present, he asked some questions. Um, let's see. He said, "Why is it called integration? Because they are integrating multiple units from the Pioneer project into humans." So I just called it integration, and I thought it sounded cool. Murder drones integration. All right. He also asked, why doesn't John from Puppet Games have his pragmaticotic anchor status? He did. He did. I believe that was mentioned um, somewhere. I don't remember where. In one of the ceiling files, maybe. But he did. But then he died because he died of old age. He got old and died. So, um, where is Dahmer and will Mia find her? Dahmer is also going to have a side story. The question of whether or not Mia will find her is still up in the air. Bye, Topaz. Oh, we just got more people in the chat. Hi, all you newcomers. I did not expect that, but cool. And since those were short questions, um, I'm gonna answer another one from Azam. What are your favorite and least favorite moments of integration? Ooh, ooh. Hmm. My least favorite moment was the ending, and that is an honest answer. It's not just like a cliche thing. I honestly did not enjoy ending it. I did want it to the main line to go on. But my favorite moment of integration, my favorite moment. Hmm, that is a good question. There were some really good moments. I did like one's introduction to the story, his subtle um, one of my favorite moments was actually doing the gala scene at the very beginning. I loved doing that, tying it in. The attack of the clones, yes, that was also a good moment. um, hmm There are a lot of good moments in integration. I don't know if I can pick out just one favorite moment. But yeah, I did love those ones. Um, Wait, why are there four replies on this question? Oh, Teddy's foot eating habits. Come on, guys, we're still on that. Man, y'all will never let that go, huh? Okay, B1V1. Your questions. Oh, wait, we have. Was there another question in the chat that I missed? There's a reason you don't want to two quantum clones of yourself, but what is the in-universe reason everyone doesn't have? Well, remember the quantum. If you're alive and you're quantum cloned, you experience everything that clone experienced. Well, is experiencing for um, partially, as in the case of Tessa and her, the two Tessas. So that's why you don't really want to quantum clone yourself while you're still alive. It can make for some strange experiences involving quantum entanglement. Um, and then there will be the issue of uh, who's the real one, even though you're both a singular entity just existing in multiple places at once, which is what quantum teleportation actually does. We're humans. Humans would still have that question of, am I the real one? Is that the real one? You're going to have that existential crisis. So people are not going to, they're not going to do that. Um, will I make another Murder Drone song? No, I will not. Um, I don't want to, push myself into that corner and be just a Murder Drones artist. Um, I will not be making a Gaslight District story or song. Gaslight District, that was just like, that was based on the ending of Animorphs, where they go up against a new enemy called the One, and it ends on a cliffhanger with them ramming the Blade ship, which it has assimilated into itself. Speaking of which, the One and Cryak were huge inspirations for Null. So the One is an entity that at the end assimilated Axe, um, and Visser One's Blade ship. So it was essentially a creature of flesh and ore, as was Cryak, who was a um, biomechanical entity who existed just as a singular eye set atop a metal robotic throne and infiltrated Jake's dreams. So you can obviously see where Null was based almost entirely off of that. So Null is a combination of the One, Cryak, and Sauron from Lord of the Rings, obviously. Sauron was the inspiration behind Cryak, so that was already part of that. Um, so the Black Hand is essentially this integrations version of the One, this looming entity in the on the horizon that will never be addressed in full. Um, so then, who's my favorite character from original Murder Drones and from Murder Drones integration? From the original Murder Drones, my favorite character would have been Sin if they'd done more with her, um, given her, not made her kind of stupid. But my favorite character from Murder Drones canon is Doll. I believe I've mentioned that before. And I know Svik would be happy to hear that again. But yes, Doll is. What does that mean, Alex? What do you mean, the knocking man? I don't want to know. Anyways, who's my character from my favorite character from integration is Teddy. Teddy's my favorite character. John Matthews. Um, I like John Matthews' character from the SSTWL stories, and I do like what I was able to do with him in integration, turning it into a real Oka bloke. You know what I mean? Um, what's my favorite glitch show? Do you is that is that really a question that needs to be asked? Do I know about IRL Sin? Yes, I'm following Death Templar on on YouTube. I'm keeping tabs on that, just just to know when I have to um, hide in our bunker here at our house. Um, so I'll be aware of when she goes rogue. Um, all right, we still got a lot of questions to get through. Are you guys good with sticking around? Because I think I've got through half of the questions so far. We still got a lot. Or do you want me to? Do you want like a second Q&A? Because I can do a second one next Saturday, hopefully. Or do you guys want to hang in there? Because it's already been an hour. I can go another hour. I've got nothing to do right now. It's a Saturday. I'm free. Crouton, never say that again. Never ever. Gaslight District has potential, but it's not great right now. Keep going. You got time? Okay. Do I support creating an actual sin IRL? Depends on what what she becomes, honestly. Okay, question from Punished for Your Sins. You've been following the story a while. Um, let me see what I can do. Will Let me see what I want to ask. Is Uzi going to keep administrative control over everyone that she had it over? Yes, she will keep that to keep them in check because most of them are bad guys. So she will keep that. What'll happen? Well, I already answered that. Let me move on. Um, what would have happened if Mari had won versus Null solo? Mari dies. Mari dies. She dies. Null's gone. Mari's dead. Um, Tessa. Essentially, things might have been kind of similar to how they ended with this ending. The only difference is Mari is gone, and there's a little more tension between the main characters because of that, because they did care for her a lot. Um, would any other payload have worked in attacking Earth? So the Malay payload, the Cersei payload, the Uzi payload, we had the Theodore payload. Yes, some they would have worked. They would have worked. Um, does that mean everyone Marius? Oh yes, yeah, yeah. You're right, Joe. Everyone, because she would have assimilated the shards, they would have died too. So yeah, that would have made things a lot different too. In that scenario, big difference would have been that Uzi would have been assimilated too. So Uzi would be gone. Uzi would be dead. The perfect, the solver's gone. Styx is gone. Ponder's gone. Everything's gone. So yeah, that would have. Wow, I wasn't even thinking about that off the top of my head. Yeah, that would have completely changed the landscape of the world. Oh, I just lost my connection. Whoa, I'm back. How long was I gone? Oh, I guess I wasn't gone for that long. Anyways, yeah, huge change. The entire landscape of the post integration universe would have been different. So that would have been a huge change. 10 seconds? Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, moving on to the next question from Doot Doot Skeleton. Um, so during the early years of mankind's exploration of the star, am I back? Am I back? Wow. I don't know what's causing that, but I keep losing my connection. All right, hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. I will be right back. All right, all right. Hopefully, I just resolved the issue. I don't know what was going on, but we are back. Um, yeah. So, where was I? There were wars during the expansion into the exoplanetary system. People fighting for control of certain planets or territories on said planets. And then was there everything like the galactic equivalent of the Warring States era, where multiple super? Yes. So remember, this is taking place over the course of 1,000 years. There were a lot of wars, a lot of death, a lot of battles, and the timeline in which this takes integration takes place is a time of relative peace. There are still inter-country wars, like international wars going on, on certain planets. Those will never end. Those came to an end when Sin attacked and everyone had to band together to fight her. But they will kick back up once peace is achieved. Um, let's see. Lumberjack King had a question. Oh, he already asked these in the chat. Okay. Moving on. Turtle Panda. Did I ever call the Solver Squad Samsara? While I do love my SCP references, no, I did not call the Solver Squadron Samsara. No, I did not. Since they're not emotionless cyborgs made from the corpse of a robot god. All right. What do I plan on making next? I answered that. Alex had some questions. And his questions were, if Liam Vickers or Glitch read integration, what would they think of it? I have no idea. I am not in their brains. I don't know what they'd think of it. I personally think Liam would hate it because he does not seem to be very fond of his SSTWL creations. Um, if the guys from Glitch, if Kevin and Luke read it, I don't know. I think they would like it, honestly. I think they would have fun reading it, but I doubt any of them will ever read it. But it's fun to think about. How did I first find SSTWL? Wow, that is a good question. I do not remember, to be honest. Pretty sure I was looking up Liam Vickers stuff. What was that, Alex? Oh, they want to split the Q&A into two? Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking they were going to do because I know a lot of people have stuff going on. Um, so I will end it. Let me end it after answering Alex's questions. Then I will make a post and say we'll cover part two on next Saturday. All right. All right. Bye, Lumberjack. See you later. Let me answer a couple more questions from Alex real quick. If I could save one character from integration, who would it be? If I could save one character from integration, Julian Martinez, Mitch's dad. I would save him. He was cool. He was fun to write. Um, yeah, I would save him just so Mitch would have some family left over to lean on. If a fist fight broke out between all of Teddy's high school friends, who would have come out on top? All right, so if we're counting just Teddy, I will say Mara Mai. Mara would have won all those fist fights because she was a fighter. You know, she liked to fight. She liked to wrestle. She was built like a truck. Um, if we're talking about, if we're adding in John's friends from design, Subject 76's friends, I think Mark would have won, or Max. Max, sorry, Max was the biggest of all of them. He could have taken Mara. Max would have won that fight. All right, last question I'm going to answer from Alex. And since once I answer this, we'll only have like 5 questions left. I'm gonna go ahead and say in the next post that people can ask more questions, just so we can actually have a part two that other people can get to. But what's with Mari and all the hands? All the hands. Uh, if you're talking about in her waking HSTOEs with Null and those hand-like limbs swarming around her, so that was obviously a callback, wink, wink, to the scene, the hallway scene from Murder Drones with all the hands hunting them. I wanted to give Null something like that when he was searching for Mari and seeking entry into the universe through her. So that's just really why I threw that in there. It's just a reference to the hallway scene, to Sin using the human hands that she's assimilated to hunt down Uzi and N. All right, so that will close out the Q&A part one for Murder Drone's integration. I'm surprised there were no personal questions, so I surprised and partially happy because I don't really want to answer a lot of personal ones, but you can ask them if you want. So yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you, Crouton, for that donation. I appreciate that. Thank you for all your questions and all the inspirations you provided for the story itself. Um, one day, one of these days, I'm gonna find y'all and bring y'all together for a meetup or something. It's a long shot dream, but I think it's a nice dream to have. Anyways, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for attending the Q&A. I'm going to end the live right here, and I will see you guys next Saturday for Flesh and Ore.